Call to order the special meeting of the City of Dickinson of June 26, 2019. That's Commissioner Frederick calling in. Good morning, Commissioner Frederick.
Good morning, everyone.
You're on speaker.
Say something. Say something, Jason.
Hello.
Okay.
You're mic'd in.
Okay, sounds good.
This meeting is to discuss our continuing contract with Murtha Law Legal Services for limited basis legal work until we hire a firm or negotiate with a lawyer for new city rep. And the first item on the agenda is the Murtha Law Legal Services. Commissioners, before you ask any questions, I'll have Mr. Goss summarize the service agreement.
Yes, thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. Good morning. This is really just a short-term agreement to get us through the interim. It's at the hourly rate of $200. We anticipate basically this will be limited to preparing for this commission packet that we're preparing now, kind of overviewing some materials and potentially one more, and then we would anticipate you'll have someone in place. So a very short-term agreement. Also, there are several items that were on the table that she was heavily involved with as a full-time employee that we might use her to consult with if they come up here in the short term as well. Really, it is an hourly agreement. I know there's a section in there that details expenses. I don't see as a short-term agreement that's going to be an issue. I don't know that we'll have any of those types of expenses or very few. So again, I think this will be a very short-term agreement, probably not much more than 10 hours a week at the most.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gaw. Any questions for Mr. Gaw on the Murtha Legal Services agreement?
None for me.
Commissioner? I just advise staff that we keep a close watch on all of the the requests from staff, just until we got representation lined up. So.
Right, and really when we go with a contract attorney, and this is the same case, we'll have to kind of curb ourselves. We've been spoiled in that you could send an email to the city attorney or walk into her office or call her up because this was her job and she was one of us, and quite frankly citizens as well could just call and talk to somebody at City Hall who happened to be the city attorney. So this will be very, and you can see it in some of the contracts, that there are set people who can contact the attorney because it does affect our contract and the amount of hours we're using, depending on the agreements.
And who is designated to make that contact?
Normally, it's any of the commissioners and the city administrator, probably here the deputy city administrator, and then really who else we want to, but that's usually pretty close. And then all of that goes back through, because you can communicate with them and say, hey, Public Works has an agreement that they're going to be working with you on this week, so you'll hear from them, or the police department has something. So the communication really starts at the top, and then the department heads will still have plenty of access.
I guess my suggestion would be that everything goes through either Mr. Gaw or Mrs. Carlson. That needs to go to Mrs. Murtha.
I would agree with that.
Okay, any other questions?
We should
Commissioner?
relay that to Ms. Murtha too, that
There are no other questions. I'd look for a motion on this legal services
move to
contract.
approve short-term agreement.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the short-term agreement with Murtha Law Legal Services with a second. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Discussion? Now we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mrs. Trustum?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Ms. Walla?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next item up is Legal Services RFP. Mr. Gaw?
Yes, thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. We had 3 proposals. I think that was a good showing of them, and all 3 quality proposals. Two of them sent in agreements, so they were a little bit more detailed. That wasn't requested, so that was kind of a nice addition, but that wasn't anything that was left out from the others that didn't. I provided a brief summary in there just to kind of publicly announce this. The first proposal, the lead attorney there would be Jordan Sellinger from Kubik, Bogner, Riddle, and Sellinger for a flat fee of $10,000 a month. The second proposal was from Makoff Kellogg. That one would be a flat fee of $16,500 per month. And then also the way the RFP was written, it didn't say you have to give us a set amount of hours because again, this is a contract with an attorney who we are not their only client and they also have other clients to tend to. So we gave them an opportunity to provide a flat fee, an hourly rate, or a combination. So Makoff Kellogg also provided a combination rate that you see there is $6,000 a month, and that's basically for the meeting attendance, and then services for working on agreements and other things. Most of that would fall outside of that scope and be an hourly rate. So
6,000 in addition to the 16.
No,
no.
that'd be separate.
That'd be separate. So there are two proposals. The 16.5 is a flat rate. If we went with the third proposal, that would be the base rate for some services and an hourly for others. So both fairly comparable. I anticipate proposal 3 could potentially be a little more expensive at times, but probably not a lot. I did put an estimate in there. It was a little bit high. So. And then the fourth proposal was from Redmond Law out of Mandan for $7,000 a month. And that is limited to up to 28 hours a week, which I think in most weeks is more than enough. So those are the proposals for your review.
Any questions for Mr. Gah on these proposals? I know we have the one law firm here. Do you wish to speak or anything, or are you just in attendance? Okay.
You look familiar, have you?
Though, if there are no questions from commissioners, I guess my suggestion would be, I would like Mr. Gah and Mrs. Carlson to sit down with the two local firms and delve into this a little bit deeper, to exactly what we can have and how many hours are anticipated, so we get a pretty concrete number. So for me, I know there was talk that we needed to get this lined up and have them on board. And right now with July, I think we can take the time and look at these two local proposals and sit down with both firms and get some concrete numbers. So I guess my suggestion would be to table this until they
Mr.
can do
President,
that.
I would agree with that. With Ms. Kripe, we know what we have. She's been here. She was here, obviously, previously for a couple years, maybe, it seems like. And the other gentleman, Jordan Salinger, I think he's an up-and-coming attorney in town, and we should take a good look at him also. So I would agree that Mr. Gah should sit down, maybe with another commissioner and Ms. Carlson, and go through and see exactly where we're at. You can see there's a pretty good difference in the billing amount and so on. I would assume that there's room for negotiation in that. If not, you can probably tell us straight out, and that might make it easier for us. So I would agree.
Any other comments, questions?
I would echo those sentiments. I think, whenever you're hiring someone, you always want to sit down and have a clear plan on what the expectations are for that position. And I think, our city administrator and deputy city administrator have a very good idea of what their needs are going into this contract. And we're not in any rush necessarily with Attorney Murtha agreeing to stay on, which we are very grateful for, to help us in the interim. So I think that's a great idea. I think allowing you guys an opportunity to talk to them about what the needs of this city is a clear and positive push forward.
Commissioner Frederick, you have any comments?
I would agree. I think we've got a little time now to go through those agreements a little closer, meet with both firms and work out the plan, and then we can make a decision in the future here, so.
Commissioner Waller? Anything?
Nothing more than what's already been said.
Okay.
So if we were to think, if that's what you want to do, and you make that motion, that we would bring you back a firmed-up agreement
Right.
from both firms to consider at the 16th meeting, or the second meeting in July, I believe is the
I think
16th.
that would work.
Okay,
Not enough time?
sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I look for a motion to table this, to sit down with both firms and basically look through what the city needs for services.
Mr.
I would
Pres-
move to approve that motion, Mr. President.
Okay, we have a motion to
Second.
table. Second. Any further questions or discussion? Not all in favor of tabling the RFP until the 16th of July? State aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. No one in opposition. Motion carries. There is nothing else on the agenda. I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.